Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Todd Coons and this is where I do photography. This is where I share my photography, talk about how I do what I do. And if you've never been here before, welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Today I want to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. I know that AI is a big deal these days. Everybody's talking about what you can do with it. You can drop in skies, you can change faces, you can do all kinds of crazy things. And how much AI is too much? Now, I'm not going to dive too much into AI today in terms of what I do in my work, but the whole AI conversation is what spurred the idea for this video, because I do a lot of Photoshop work in my images. And I'll manipulate certain things and I'll change things, and I know that doesn't technically qualify as AI because I'm the guy producing all of it, but I think that the ability to alter an image or enhance an image is one of the great advantages to what Photoshop and digital photography brought into the world. So let me show you one little image real quick. This was an image that I shot, child being the superhero part of this image, and then it was sold as a stock image used by somebody else who created this composite. Now, I don't know that that was AI generated. Somebody took a bunch of different pieces and put the whole thing together. I am totally fine with that, even if AI is used for that. So if you were to take an image like this and say, I need a dramatic sky, and AI generated the sky for you, that's using somebody else's photograph probably to generate that background, and I'm totally fine with that from an advertising standpoint. Nobody is claiming that it's real. Nobody's claiming that they did the work themselves. AI generated it. That part of AI I'm fine with. Now, if it comes to a journalistic photograph that changes the story, now we're running into some problems. So in the comments, leave me your thoughts about AI and where it can be used and can't be used. That's cool. I think it's a great discussion. When it comes to advertising, I don't have a problem with generating this amazing image in order to sell a product, to sell an idea, to promote something. That's great. Now, what I want to show in this video is a couple of images that I've created over the years. One that I created just in the last couple of weeks that made me start thinking about this whole, generating images that don't exist exactly as you're showing them. And then, of course, how much of it do we admit is real and not real, and what do we take credit for? So anyway, here's the first image I want to show, and this was an image that I shot of the bridge in Cincinnati. I actually took it from the Kentucky side of the river. I was up there several years ago, and I had never taken this exact photograph before we left and came back to South Carolina. I told my wife, let's stop there, let's get this photograph before we take off. We were planning on being there when the sun was going to come up, so I thought we were going to be there at the perfect time of day. However, it was December 31st, it was 10 degrees outside, and it was cold. It was gray, which is typical for the Midwest in the winter. It was just ugly lighting, but I got out there, froze my can off, and took the image anyway. It was a nice image. It was just horrible lighting. It was gray skies, blah, horrible, and got the photograph, and we came home. So I missed the opportunity to get an amazing photograph just because the conditions were wrong, but I thought, you know what? I can make this image look phenomenal, and so I started working on this image. Now, I dropped in a new sky. I gave some light direction to the entire thing. I changed the snowy banks of the river into green grass, and if you look on the other side of the river, I think I actually stole that image from a beach scene. So there's probably 4 or 5 different photographs making up this one image, but the results became amazing. I use it as a stock photograph. It sells quite often, and it's just a pretty image of a neat scene that I happened to take on a cruddy day, because that was the day I happened to be there. So the next image I want to share with you guys is the one that kind of got me thinking about making this video and talking about manipulating photographs and, you know, the whole AI part of it, my wife and I were down in Beaufort, South Carolina, and we went specifically to a place called Hunting Island. And there's a beach down there, and there happens to be this beautiful lighthouse. And I love taking photographs of lighthouses. They're just cool. So we were down there, I took this photograph, and around the lighthouse at the bottom was this ugly chain link fence, and they had it fenced off. They were working on it or something, but I got some neat photographs of it. I was able to kind of get low and hide the fence, but as I was kind of walking around the area, I saw a couple of other little areas, and I took photographs of those. And as I was you know, kind of in the area, I started to get this vision of what I could make the lighthouse photo into. And I thought, you know, I could mix and match a couple of images here. And so I kind of sketched out what I was thinking of doing. And when I got back to the house and into the computer, I started manipulating some of these photographs. And I had a vision in my head before I ever got started, because I knew the 3 images that I was going to use. And I started doing some Photoshop magic and blending everything together, and came up with what I would consider a really neat photograph. Now, there was no AI involved because, well, artificial intelligence, it was me, so I guess maybe in some ways it was, but you know what I mean. I didn't, you know, generate anything from scratch that I hadn't created to begin with in myself. It was 3 photographs. I blended them together to make a scene that wasn't really there. So I thought it turned out pretty good. One of the things that I did was extended the fence that was there because it didn't go that far. It had kind of toppled over in some places. So I did them smoke and mirrors, if you will, in Photoshop to come up with this image. Okay, so what do you guys think of those 2 images, and what do you think of what I did in order to create them? You know, one of the questions I think you can ask yourself is, do I put out this disclaimer that this isn't what it really looked like? I don't necessarily think you need to do that. I think if somebody asks, you don't have to, you know, be dishonest about it. Hey, it looked exactly like that. You know, if somebody asks, you can tell them what you did, but I don't think you necessarily have to throw out there, hey, I took this beautiful shot of a lighthouse, but it didn't really look like that. I mean, the reality is I don't think anybody's ever going to know in a situation like this. So, you know, let me know what you guys think of the whole AI situation, and then the compositing situation as far as creating something bigger or better than what you actually encountered when you were there. I will say a couple of things. Number one, I'm a big believer that if you're going to piece together different photographs to make one better photograph, I like being the one that took everything. I don't want to take a photograph from somebody else to make it part of what I have created. I don't want to go to a stock agency and take a picture from a beach so that I can enhance my shot. If I'm going to enhance my own shot, I want to take the shots. That way the whole composite is mine. That's just me. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to throw out, if you guys are doing any composites, make sure that your depth of field is true from image to image. For instance, I took a piece of that fence and moved it and extended the fence. If that fence wasn't equally sharp all the way through, when I moved it, it would have become very apparent. So if you're doing some compositing, make sure you've got your focus correct from image to image, or you're going to have some problems with the reality of it blending together. Another thing, just to, you know, kind of be a little bit of advice when it comes to compositing like this, at some point you've got to know when to say it's done. If you're anything like me, the longer I look at it, the more I want to make changes. And if I sit and stare at something long enough, I have a tendency to start not liking it. It's like I love it, but then I show it to a few people, I stare at it long enough, and I want to keep making changes. At some point you got to say, okay, it's done. And that's not always the easiest thing to do, because as artists, you know, let's take it to the next step. Let's make it better. With the lighthouse, I wanted to put a moon in it, and I kind of talked myself out of doing that. But again, I could sit there and never finish because you always want to keep making it better and better. So at some point you got to figure out just to say it's done. And on that note, guys, I think I'm going to call this video done. I think I've talked enough. Let me know what you guys think about AI, compositing photos. Tell me what you think about my lighthouse shot. I'm kind of proud of that one. I really kind of enjoyed that image. So let me know what you think. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate you guys subscribing. Leave me a thumbs up. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.